Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the pre-Thanksgiving edition of At Home with Andrew. And we are once again literally at home with Andrew. We're not over at Eric's house this evening, even though I believe that Eric will be joining us eventually this evening, correct?
Yep, he's on the other side of the camera, just getting all of his wine glasses and all that set up for us. So he is here, ready to roll.
Awesome. Good to know. He looked very like he was almost transparent if he was sitting next to you. Virtually not
Yeah,
there,
no.
so
That red
I'm
hair
quite
stands out.
well. He does. He blends when he wants. That's the way I think of it. But so I am literally and actually the third wheel in this equation tonight, or the fifth wheel. I'm the wheel that doesn't make sense. We're just gonna toss it over to Andrew pretty much right away. But when we were talking last week, last month when we got off the air, decided to just go ahead with the Thanksgiving edition of At Home with Andrew. And really, what's more important? I mean, the turkey is important, but what the real stars of the show are the sides. So I'm going to take myself out of the picture. Want to remind you that if anyone has any questions, comments about Thanksgiving, even if you have a good Thanksgiving tale to tell about, eating, like anything unusual that happened at a Thanksgiving dinner, throw that into the mix. And so without further ado, I'm going to take myself out, ask questions, make comments, tell stories. And Andrew, the internet is yours.
Thank you very much. So, we kind of talked and we decided that, something Thanksgiving themed was, obviously not only festive and work. Glasses are above the sink in there, if you want pint glasses. You go to Thanksgiving and typically, I don't know, I'd say like 8 out of 10 people are excited about the sides. Rarely is it ever like, man, I can't wait to have grandma's turkey, because 90% of your turkeys are cooked the same. You pop it in the oven at 300 that morning until it the little pops out and tells you turkey's done. And, but no, everyone's always like, oh, my Aunt Carol makes the best mashed potatoes, or, Uncle Robbie makes what do they call it? The Wisconsin sushi, the pickle, ham, cream cheese wraps.
Oh, the ham rolls.
Yeah, right? Ham rolls. That's it. And I always feel that just more and more people are. Your glasses are in there when you go to leave. More and more people are just, I feel like, excited about the sides. The turkey is obviously kind of the glue that holds everything together. Thank you. But the sides are really what makes the meal, I feel. And not just the sides, but the pre-food, the after food, the snacks, all that. So I wanted to go ahead and really work on a heavily traditional one, a mac and cheese casserole. From there, roll to this a little more abnormal. I'm sure lots of people have carrots on the side of their Thanksgiving meal, but just a little less traditional. We're not just boiling it. We're gonna have a little fun with it. So yeah, those are the two we're working with. I would love to hear from anybody else what your favorite sides are. Do you have a way that you do cook your turkey that's a little untraditional? And towards the end, I'll kind of give you the way I did the last couple turkeys I actually did, the way we did those, which is a little more unique, I guess, as well. But yeah, so we'll be transitioning here over to the kitchen. Eric is here. You'll see him floating around in the background. He's going to come in and talk some amazing wines, kind of what he thinks is the right wine to bring, not just for these food pairings, but it's more what to bring to Thanksgiving, right, Eric? Closer to that than necessarily a food pairing. These are ones that works with that entire meal, right? The turkey, the sides, the rolls, the everything all together. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and shift on over to the food cam and the other one.
Before you shift though, two quick things. Just a quick hello to Dunbar and Eric from Nessa Green. But more importantly, Ryan Morris has a question. I'm not sure if this is tonight or Thanksgiving, but he wants to know, will there be fish sticks? And that is a legitimate question. Somewhat.
Can we delete comments permanently?
That's a good question. I don't believe so, but I can find out. 1 second. Yes, yes, you can. As it turns out.
Yes. That's a win. That's a win. All right. So we're going to start with the mac and cheese first on this one. Eric, go ahead and feel free to pop into the cameras, have a seat right there at the table, and just kind of chat, talk wine, or if you want to sit or float in the background, wherever you want to hang out, man. So we're going to start with just boiling some water for the mac and cheese, right? Got to do the noodles. So I got some water there. And anytime you're cooking noodles, you want to salt your water. Most noodles do not have much seasoning in them. And as you saw, I put a pretty good amount of salt in there. You want to shoot for about seawater, right? So as you kind of mix that all in there, give it a little taste, be a little bit salty. Kind of tastes like that spring break trip to Florida. So, the one that still leaves a little bit of salt in your mouth at the end of it. If you need, add a little more. It's really hard to over salt at this point, so don't be too afraid. Basically, as the salt water soaks into the noodle, it's going to bring a little bit of that salt and a little bit of that salinity into those noodles.
Andrew, are you working on the further burner on the food cam?
So I'll be working on this one here.
Okay,
the other one is just going to be boiling the water, and I figured, people didn't necessarily want to see water boil.
Literally watching water boil, so
that would literally be all it is. That is correct.
And
so over here, though, we will be working this pan to start on our mac and cheese. So to start your mac and cheese, we're going to be doing this a very traditional way with a roux. A roux is a thickening agent. It is a form of fat and flour. You can also use cornstarch and a few others. Flour is the traditional way to go. And you are going to start to melt the butter, add the flour, and you're going to work it into, it's almost going to look like a paste. With that, you have the color of the roux. The lighter the color, basically how long do you cook it? How long are you physically going to cook this flour down? Will determine how much or how thick will it allow, because the starch is what's going to thicken it. The more and more you cook it down, it's going to actually start to thicken slightly less, because you're actually going to be burning and or cooking off some of that starch. But you're going to develop more flavor. You're actually going to open up a little bit of like nuttiness out of that flour from kind of those burnt flour, basically. Right? We're not going for burnt like black burnt, but we're not going to leave it pure white when we're done with it. So got our pan here. I'm going to turn that to, I don't know, a little above medium. Not quite a medium high, but just slightly above medium. Obviously, every stove is different. That's why I shoot for here on this one, but I'd say medium is a good starting spot. I just know my stove a little bit. So see, I just kind of put one knob of butter in there. Probably do about 3 of those. I like to chop the butter up as I put it into the pan. If you throw just one big lump, as it starts to kind of melt down, the inside of the butter is still cold, while the outside is starting to burn and smoke. So if you throw one giant, just throw the whole stick in there, you're just not going to get the best quality. It's not going to hurt anything long term, as long as you're not, throwing it over open fire. But if you can do it better, might as well, right? So we are also tonight drinking. You want to hand me the bottle that we have? And this is not related to the wine that we're going to be having later, but our little while we're cooking snacks today is this. I can't remember if I have my camera flipped or not. Of course I do.
Nope, it's good. I can read it.
It's good. Okay, on my end it looks flipped, so maybe I don't. This is a cidery up in Bayfield, Wisconsin. The Apostle Islands. We were there a few weeks, and we picked up a few of their ciders. So this one is made. They have a dry cider, a hopped cider, and a couple others. This one is a cur crab, which I guess is a type of apple. But unlike most ciders where they kind of just take all the apples and kind of put them together and make something work. This is a single apple that is put together in this cider to kind of give it, I don't know, a little different flavor. So from here, I want liquid butter in my pan. I don't want just kind of a loose, I don't want it to look like I'm just trying to make a veggie not stick. I want some standing butter. So as you can see, I didn't quite have enough. So I'm adding a little more. All right, so now that I have this butter pretty well melted, I'm going to start adding my flour. When you're adding your flour for your roux, you want to go to about 3 parts flour to about 2 parts butter. You want to do this by weight. Remember, butter, every butter you buy is rarely going to be the same volume. Some butteries, but butter houses, but paterneries.
I like Butter House.
Butter house,
Personally.
yeah. Some butter houses put more air in their butter, and that's just due to their whipping process, right? As they're kind of folding their butter and making it. Sometimes more air is in there. Sometimes they're a little denser. Sometimes it's made with complete dairy. Sometimes they're adding a little bit of a cut agent, such as a vegetable oil or something. It comes down to where are you getting your butter from, and what's the quality of the butter that you're getting from them. So it's hard to say exactly if you just go by volume or, they have that little pre-measurement on that paper stick. This is like 1 tablespoon cut here, half a tablespoon cut here. That's never correct. One, they never actually even have that thing lining up properly. With the butter sticks, half the time that first tablespoon's like half wrapped on the end. So you can do it by weight if you're really wanting to be precise, which I recommend for people who have not made a roux before, to try to be as precise as you can. And once you kind of get a feel for it, then you can kind of eyeball it, kind of like I am. Like I can see it's a little stiffer than I want it. So I'm going to add another pat of butter.
So you're saying you can't trust the butter wrapper?
You can never trust the butter wrapper. The only
All
thing
right.
worse than trusting the butter wrapper is if you have to get your butter out of a plastic bin.
That would be sad.
Or margarine, I believe it's called.
Or oleo if you want to go real old school.
Oleo. There's a term I haven't heard in a while. Actually, that took me. There was a while where I was Googling oleo because I got one of my grandma and great grandma's old cookbooks and it kept calling for this oleo. And I was like, what in the heck is oleo?
Did you know that was the first bootlegging in Wisconsin?
I did not.
It was actually bootlegging oleo in from Illinois. It was illegal to sell margarine in Wisconsin. And even before it was before the booze prohibition kicked in, there was a margarine prohibition in Wisconsin, and they were
margarine prohibition in Wisconsin. That is,
they were margarine runners.
All right, so I turned my other light on, and hopefully you can kind of start to see there is some brown color kind of coming up. And I might have my, it's about to die. That's why I turned down a little. There's almost a little bit of redness starting to come out of it. I don't know if you can kind of see that. Let's try turning this off again. There's a little bit of a redness in the back of it. So that is one of the stages. So we've kind of moved past a light roux, and we're moving into a red roux. Now, if anybody has been to Nolens or that area of the South, or have family that grew up or from the New Orleans area, should very, very much all about roux. It's one of the staples of most dishes down there. Gumbo, all of that is going to start with a roux and some Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nessa tossed a comment in that butter is better than margarine or greater than margarine. I think that's something that almost everyone can agree on. That's a universal. What do you say? I mean, I've never met. Well, my grandma, in the 70s, was a big fan of margarine. But I
Yep,
think she even would have chose butter over margarine.
definitely. I think it's one of those things too. Was like the convenience and cost factor was so major when it first came out.
Yeah.
That it really, really brought home a lot of that. I'm gonna turn this light on one more time and try to get it a little lower power so I'm not overexposing.
Oh,
But
there
there,
you
you
go.
can really
That
see
looks
that
good.
redness.
Yeah, that is a good looking roux, and that's the good light for it too.
Yeah, so real nice there. Now from here, I turned my light or my heat down some, and I pulled my roux off a bit. You don't normally have to do this. This will be more about the me kind of talking the next few steps, and I want to not overdo my roux. So from there, we're going to get some heavy cream or half and half. Whole milk works as well, but not a ton, right? I just kind of did enough there to cover the bottom. And now I'm just working this roux into this, and I still have my stove on low. Again, if you can do this over more of a medium, not a big deal. So working this roux into this cream, and it's gonna kind of start to all come together and just thinning that out. We're getting that red color back in there, even from this being low. So it went from that creamy white back to kind of this roux red. And we're just going to put a little bit more cream in there. So for me, this is a big part of this. A lot of people just go ahead and say, oh, it says 3 cups of cream. Let's just go ahead and throw all 3 cups of cream in here, all at once. And now all of a sudden you're just trying to get this roux fully incorporated for the next like hour. Or just add a little bit, get it to where it goes from kind of, you should have added a second pack of granola to your breakfast to, just right. Look. And there we go. That's about the consistency I want. So now we can skip the cream because we just don't need that much extra fattiness in here. And now you can add the decent amount, add the rest to the second 2/3 or so of the milk or the cream or whatever else you're doing it with. Like I said, for me, I don't do full cream the whole way through just because it's quite fatty at that point. Get the rest of this stirred. If you have a whisk, go for it. It can help. I like to have a spatula like this because as I find kind of the bigger chunks, I can kind of smash them underneath it and kind of run them under the spatula against the bottom of the pan and make sure they're fully broke open. All right, so also when we do this, my water is boiling. So we're going to add some elbow macaroni. For this, I'm going to add probably half a box, somewhere around there. Eric, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite pasta? Is macaroni your go-to shape? Oh, that's right. Eric can't have pasta. That's right.
He can't?
He chooses not to for his health.
That just seems silly.
Right. All right. So we're gonna start.
Tell Eric to throw his mic on.
Eric, throw your mic on. Tim says. So we're gonna do this pasta here that I have boiling for about 9 minutes. Normally, something around there you shoot for about 10 to 11, I would say. But the fact that we are going to be popping this back in the oven, I actually don't want my elbow macaroni or my pasta in general to be super overdone and mushy by the time it also bakes in the oven.
Since you brought up elbow macaroni again, Ryan Morris had
What was that?
me? Ryan Morris had a very important question. Why do they call it elbow macaroni? He'd like to know if it's made with real elbows.
100% elbow. It is. It's actually made from the weenus of the elbow. So
Oh,
if it's not 100% weenus, don't get it.
that is so specific. That does it say that right on the packaging?
The good ones will.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know how to read that in Italian when I was in Italy, or I would have looked closer.
Well, I mean, you get so lost as they're just doing this anyway. So
That's true. That's a very solid point.
all right, so we got our pasta boiling. I've got my roux. As you can see, it's thickened up a pretty good amount already. Even after just that last part was 2%. I didn't even do whole milk in here. If you want it even thicker, whole milk. If you want it, shave a few calories extra, go skim. Really, at this point, it's whatever you have laying around. So you want to get it till it's nice and warm. It's steaming a little. I know you can kind of see it a little bit there. You don't want a full-blown boil. So once you have it steaming and you have your roux at the right temperature, you can go ahead and kill that and start to add your cheese. Now, adding your cheese is kind of another thing that I find a lot of people mess up. A second here to get my cheese plate ready. Tim, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Coming through loud and clear.
You got Eric on mic too? Can you hear him?
I cannot hear Eric.
You cannot hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. So why don't you eat pasta? When did that start?
I just want to clear the air on that gluten comment earlier. No, I have a allergy and I'm checking to see if it's gluten, but I'm gonna eat some gluten today. So.
Yeah. The old elimination diet.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
No, Eric's gluten free. Don't let him lie to you. It's a life choice. So as you start to add your cheese, which I start with my cheddar, just because it's kind of got the higher melt point, you notice I didn't just throw a 20-pound block of cheese all in here at once, right? Again, I don't want my pan to have to be so hot that I'm burning the bottom. And look at this. I've added one cheese and I'm already getting this.
Wow.
One cheese, huh?
One cheese. And we're doing three. Remember, 3 cheeses.
Three.
So if you throw your cheese all in there at once, it's just going to cool down that roux and milk mixture to the point that it's going to take forever to either A, melt, or B, it's going to take that long to come together, or you're going to have to turn it hotter, which is just going to cause you to break your cheese sauce. So I am on medium low right now because breaking your sauce is when the fats, the oils, and all that start to separate.
When you're picking cheeses for a cheese sauce, you want like a higher moisture, like a fattier cheese, or are you looking for
Yeah, that's a good question. Really good question. So I like to break it down into 3. I typically will always do at least 2 cheeses. Typically, I try to do 3. I try to do something that is a little drier, like a sharp cheddar or a mild cheddar. Not super, super hard, but not, super moist either. And then I'll shoot for one that is for flavor, which is the one we're doing right now. So right now, I am mixing in just a little bit of smoked Gouda. Gouda, again, is kind of probably even a little bit higher of a moisture content than that cheddar, but it's got a really good flavor and it's got a really good creaminess to it, if that makes sense. It's going to help that kind of that stretch factor, if you will.
Okay.
And then the third cheese, which we'll be adding here in a little bit, is something I like to call a balancing cheese. So we are real close on this cheese sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the heat on my cheese sauce. And look at that. It's perfectly stringy. goopy, all that.
That's lovely.
All right, so we're about where we want to be with our noodles. I'm just draining these real quick.
Now, as you drain the noodles and the cheese comes down, it cools down a bit. Amy had a question, and this is going back to the cream. She wondered if you've ever used evaporated milk when you make your mac and cheese.
So I personally, I think I have before. I've never really experimented with it. I think that was in one of my like grandma's style recipe. I know, again, kind of as we were talking, that kind of was a part of that. Did I lose connection on my?
Your food cam has frozen.
Xfinity.
Let's see. Yeah. Gotta love the internet. All right, I'm gonna turn it off and back on and see if it reloads.
It's so
Anyway,
far
so
not.
I haven't done it myself too much, but I definitely know people that do. And it can, in this, when you're making your roux, the big thing you want to watch is there is extra sugar. It's evaporated, right? So there's less moisture, there's less liquid in there, more protein, sugars, carbohydrates, all that make up the base of the milk. So you just got to watch it, because that red roux that we were trying to make can quickly look red, but that is the carbohydrates from the evaporated milk that are starting to brown in there, and not the flour. And what happens when you do that is then you end up with a raw flour taste.
Okay.
And that is the risk of undercooking your roux.
Okay. It looks as if your food cam is going again. Another question just about the cheese, since we're there. Autumn wondered, do you have any insights on using pre-shredded cheese to save time?
Nope, absolutely. That cheddar, that was a pre-shredded cheddar. So if you have, that is the base of this mac and cheese, right? It is not something that we, I don't know, that is there for volume, I guess, less than the flavor. So absolutely, any chance, get the big block of it if you want your mac and cheese to be a few dollars cheaper, or grab the shredded stuff if you want it to just be a little bit more convenient. I would say stuff such as, that cheese went everywhere in the fridge. I am so sorry, Autumn. That is all over the fridge.
It's always good
There's
to
a
get
whole
an
lot of
apology
Gouda in
show.
there.
You ain't doing it right unless you're apologizing, halfway through the show. I am so
yeah, whatever
sorry.
works for you, especially with the cheddar. Once we get to the flavored cheese, typically shredded cheese has some sort of a cutting agent in it. And I'm not talking like 2006 My Chemical Romance cutting agent. I'm talking, it's normally there's like a flour or a cornstarch that they use to make sure that the cheese isn't sticking to the machines. So sometimes you get a less pure product out of those pre-shredded stuff. I mean, normally you can almost feel it. When you're touching that shredded cheese, it almost leaves like a powdery feel. Your hands get really dry, like you can feel it on your fingertips. That's that cutting agent, if you will.
Okay. I was surprised at how quickly the sliced Gouda melted, though. I mean, that
yes. So, yep. As Eric brought up, it was a great question. The Gouda has a little more moisture, and as we are putting that into an already moist environment, it makes it quickly come out or quickly melt down. You tried to throw something at this point, like a Parmesan in here, it's going to melt just as quick because we gave it the right base to do that. If I was trying to make a cheese sauce just by throwing like, I don't know, some cheese cubes and a cap of milk in the microwave, it's going to take a while because that moisture is what breaks it down. Cheese itself is just hardened fat at the end of the day. So the less moisture in there means the less fat in there, which means that it takes longer to get that fat flowing. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So I'm going to try to shift my casserole dish so it's not on the hot burner, but up here you can see. All I'm going to do at this point to this, I just want to show it. I just pop this butter in there with a butter knife. And we put plenty of butter in this, so I'm not too worried about it sticking a whole lot. But I'm just going to give it a little bit of love to make those dishes later that much easier, since I already have a fridge I have to clean out as well. You can get some parchment paper, stick some parchment paper in the bottom of that if you want. Or, you know, silicone mats that they have. Any of those type of things will work. All right, back to our cheese sauce. You can see just the latent heat from this burner in the pan, and this thing is still already bubbling. It is off right now, and it's just going to hold that much heat in here. So I have my noodles.
Unfortunately, oh, there we go. The camera is
There we go. Yep,
freezing
I saw it.
intermittently, just so you know.
Huh. I wonder why it's trying to leave or lose me. Anyway, so I'm going to pop my noodles right in. And at this point, if camera's working, move very slow so I don't upset it. We're going to start mixing this stuff in.
Another question for you, Dunbar.
Absolutely. What you got?
What are the most cheeses per capita have you put into a cheese sauce?
Most cheeses per capita? I don't know. One time, here's a fun story about the younger of the childs. I was in culinary school and we made mac and cheese one time. I was like, well, I think he was 4 at the time. I was like, yeah, I'll bring some mac and cheese and the kids will, love me forever. Some real nice mac and cheese. So this was this super, super high end grilled cheese. I'm talking, we had like 30-year cave-aged Gruyere, extra like 20-year cheddar, like all these high-end cheeses. This casserole dish of mac and cheese was probably like $120 worth of cheese in this thing, right? So we get that, make it, get it all like ready, give him a bowl of it. He takes one bite, looks at Autumn, and goes, "Why does Dunbar always give me the things I hate?" And pushed it away from him and walked away from the table.
Wow.
I don't like this. Why does Dunbar give me all the things that I hate?
Has the trend continued?
Yeah. So I probably should have showed that on camera because that was kind of fun actually watching. So you can see I literally just poured it in, and that's how clean. I mean, it's a nice little Teflon pot, but that roux and all that is just the right. It wants to be with itself. It wants to be together. It's a happy family now. So I'm going to move this back over to here. All right. So as you can see, we have this nice, thick mac and cheese. But back to Eric's question about what cheese to use. And I brought up the third cheese, which I call a corrective cheese. So this could be that sprinkle of extra cheddar on top. This could be some Parmesan because your sauce didn't quite tighten up enough. And again, Parmesan, very low moisture cheese, very hard. It is going to absorb some moisture and it's going to thicken it. Or I made it too thick and I want to add something creamier to kind of get it to loosen some. The third option, and my favorite, is one to balance the food. So we added a mild cheddar, a smoked Gouda, along with this flour. So it is very umami. It's in that direction. And I like having a balanced dish. So the next thing I'm going to add. Oh, my camera, I think food cam's frozen again.
Oh, now it's unfrozen.
Nope, no, it's not. All right.
There we go.
Some cream cheese. And in this cream cheese, I'm just going to take and put some blobs of it around. This is just going to add that little bit of sweetness to that dish. I don't want to make this like, candied yam sweet, but I want to make sure I'm balancing everything I'm doing. So there we go. Just a few blobs right there makes that work. Here is step 2. Now you can grab, could have done this before putting it in there too. You want to give yourself a little bit of a try. So I'm sure some people are like, oh my gosh, he hasn't salted or peppered or any of this so far. The problem is some cheese has different salt levels. I literally can buy the same Belgioso Parmesan and a week later buy another one of it, and it's going to be saltier. So I like waiting until my sauce is done before I do any of that. The other thing I like to do is add this white pepper as opposed to black pepper. So it is a little more intense. I'm just going to put it right here on top. It is slightly more intense, but for me, it's awkward whenever I'm eating this like creamy white sauce and there's just all these little black specks floating around, you know. So this white pepper kind of blends in. It's typically a finer grind, and it's going to blend in a little bit with that cheese sauce and just look better on a plate. Back to the old salt bin. Hit this top right here, some salt. And some breadcrumbs. So my oven, I have this at 400 degrees right now. We are more wanting the oven here to kind of finish setting the dish than cooking anything, right? The noodles are cooked, the cheese sauce, it's all cooked. So I just want this to set what we're doing. So we're gonna pop this in the oven. It's kind of an indiscriminate amount of time. I'm gonna be doing it in about 15 to 20. So I got it at 400. If this is something you want to do earlier in the day, turn it to 300. Let it go for 20 more minutes. If you want it in even quicker, pop it under broil in there and get that top nice and crispy. Really, you're just kind of wanting everything to come together at this point. So I'm going to pop this in. If you want to kick over to, I think it was Table Cam, Eric is going to give us a little talk and talk about, after I get this in the oven, I'll be in there. And we're going to talk about what wines to pair when you're eating fatty, cheesy, just kind of heavy dishes like this. So kick over to that, and I'll pop this in the oven, and we'll be on our way.
All right.
Tim.
Hello, Eric.
I'm going to turn that volume in there down so I can turn this one up a bit. Sure.
So, Eric, there are a couple people that are out there clamoring for fish sticks. Just so you know.
Me too.
Amy Schnitzler.
Still haven't had one, Tim.
Amy, I know, me neither. Amy has brought it up. Ryan's brought it up twice. He must really be jonesing for fish sticks. Welcome to the table, Cam.
Thanks, Tim. Great to have you here with us, Tim. So, with this, one of the things I was scared to kind of think about and bring up is a fatty dish like this. Because sometimes, I don't know, for me, a really fatty dish is hard to pair a drink or a wine with, because not only do you have to worry about the flavor profile, but you have to worry about the finish, kind of the way it is on your mouth, the texture, all that I feel comes into effect a little more. Would you agree? Or
yeah.
So yeah. So if something fatty like this, what do you?
So I don't know. Classic Thanksgiving food is very fatty, and salty usually.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for is something with high acidity and high fruit. Those two cut through fat really, really well. So normally the classic pairing for like Thanksgiving meals would be Beaujolais, which is a super fruity red wine, kind of similar to Pinot Noir, with that higher acidity, or Pinot Noir. I really, so last Thanksgiving, I brought a Cabernet actually for Thanksgiving. And it was a bottle that I helped with for Harvest out in Washington. So it had like sentimental value, which is something I was thankful for, which I thought was really cool. And it was awesome to bring and drink with the food, but it did not pair with any of the Thanksgiving food. No, not at all. Not at all.
Was it just too heavy on heavy, or
Yeah,
it was too
yeah.
light? It was too
Yeah,
similar.
you want something lighter and, like I said, higher acid. That's the big thing. So, I mean, I picked two sparkling wines for us tonight.
Okay.
But yeah,
Awesome. And then another thing to look for, let's say you have, I know we'll cover kind of this later too with the types of sparkling wines you brought, but everyone's got that great aunt that, nope, I drink this. I drink Merlot.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there, what would you say that, like, I only drink Merlot and that's what I'm drinking with my Thanksgiving? What, should I full convince, or can you think of like a wine or two to maybe start to, maybe something that's similar but higher acid? You know what I mean? Something to kind of push them, nudge them along.
Was this your grandma, you said, or is this?
Yeah, an aunt that I had. Yeah,
you bring that aunt some Merlot.
Yeah. That's probably the right answer.
No, it's the classic. I mean, drink what you want to drink. These are just things that I think will help with the pairings. Just that'll vibe with the food a little more.
Yeah,
basically what it is. But yeah, for sure.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, you want to break out? I mean, you don't have to open it now. If you don't want to, we can wait till it's up to you.
Why not? What's
yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. That's got a while ago yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that long a show. You really should open it. I would imagine.
As we all know, Eric opening this type of wine bottle on this show he's 0 for 1 unsuccessfully.
Oh, I like the pop, so I'm gonna make a pop.
I just do it in the fridge. It's already a mess.
Yeah. So how long we got on the? We're doing the mac right now.
Doing the mac, yeah. I'll probably start on the carrots before the mac is done, just to get those in and kind of finishing the carrots as we break the mac out, sort of a thing.
I find if you drink sparkling wine while you're cooking, the cooking just happens a little faster.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like science.
When it comes to Thanksgiving wines, I always would say I'm bringing the cranberry sauce. Like the cranberry sauce on the Thanksgiving table has got the fruit and the acidity. I don't like cranberry sauce, so I'm gonna drink wine instead. So I'm looking for the cranberry sauce.
This is good. And what kind of what is this one exactly? You want to run through this
what
one?
are you drinking there?
I can always run through the first one we got here. So the first one I brought is a Prosecco, which I'm sure many people have heard of. This is a pretty popular sparkling white wine. Super affordable. Like they're like, $15, $20 tops, really, even for like the higher end ones. Fun little fact though about Prosecco. Prosecco used to be the name of the grape until 2009. They switched it to Glera, and that was because people started making Prosecco in Australia and stuff, and the Italians got a little cheeky with it, and they named it the grape they found a town named Prosecco, and they drew borders around it and said you can only make Prosecco here.
Oh,
and then
give it the champagne treatment.
Yeah, give it the champagne treatment. And then they named it Glera because no one's called their wine Glera because that sounds like your grandma.
Yeah. Great grandma Glera.
But yeah, so this so for the Prosecco to have it on the label, it's gonna be 85% Glera, and the other 15% is usually indigenous grape varieties to this is from the Veneto in Italy. So just a little like geographical location of that. We are now we're in the northeast corner of Italy, kind of near the border to Slovenia. And we are south of like the Alto Adige wine region. But yeah, going back to the grape varieties that are in here, like I said, 85% has got to be Glera. The other 15% can be indigenous grape varieties or Pinot Noir they added. And why did they do that? Because if you've ever seen the Rosé Prosecco now, that's kind of like becoming a new trend. A lot of time they'll put 15% Pinot Noir in there to give it that pink color.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. So this one right here, I believe, is a Brut. Another thing that's cool to look at with, let's see if I can, that little word right there. It says Brut. So when you find Prosecco, it'll normally say dry, extra dry, or Brut. So all that is talking about is how much sugar is left in the wine. So you would think dry would be the dry, or dry, no, extra dry would be the driest, and then dry would be the second driest, right? But no, dry is actually the sweetest. So that is
What?
between, I think, 17 and 22 grams of sugar is in a dry Prosecco.
Okay.
Which one do you think is the driest, the Brut or the extra dry?
I'm going to say extra dry.
No, it's not. It's Brut. Brut is the driest. Brut is less than 12 grams, and the extra dry is between 12 and 17.
Okay.
So depending on your style of wine, if you like a sweeter Prosecco, look for the dry. If you're, or start at the dry and work your way down.
So when you want sweet, go dry.
Go dry. Yeah, if you want sweet, get a dry Prosecco.
Makes sense.
So how was that decided?
Everything
How
I've
did
heard
they
about
decide
I
to
want
call
it
this?
Brut.
How
I
they
know,
decide
it
to
makes
call
no
sweet
sense.
dry?
The wine.
Is it like that with champagne too?
No, that's not quite the same.
Okay.
No, but there is no extra dry. It's extra Brut.
Extra Brut.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
Okay.
And don't quiz me on the brands per liter because I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Well, leave it to the Italians to make it difficult.
Of course.
So, you know,
Of course.
yeah. Maseratis, they're great machines when they run right. Well, that's fantastic. The bubbles are great. Very fine bubbles. It's got a very nice texture to it.
Yeah. Going back to champagne, this is made in a different style of champagne as well. So this uses the tank method to get the bubbles. So they actually use a pressurized tank. And if when you do fermentation, you're left with alcohol, CO2, and heat. So in a pressurized tank, it traps the CO2 and then it incorporates it into the wine. Where the champagne method is done in the bottle.
Oh.
So
Okay.
normally I get more of like a
bottled under Prosecco's bottled under pressure.
Yeah, it's
Champagne
already
develops pressure in the bottle.
correct. Yeah. So Prosecco when it's bottled has already got the bubbles in it. It's basically how that works. And normally, depending on what styles you get, it can be a little the bubbles, like you said, they're really fine in here, which I agree. Sometimes it can get almost like soda carbonation.
Yeah,
Like
that's normally what I'm used to from Prosecco. Is
Yeah,
more
this is
feels
like-
like CO2 added.
Yeah, this is like my favorite Prosecco. I got this from Waterford for I think it was like $15 or $16. So
Oh,
super affordable. And for like big celebrations like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and stuff like that, no one's mad at the person that brought bubbles.
No, you drink
Yeah.
them
Can't go
before,
wrong
you
with
drink them
bubbles.
after, you drink
Yeah,
them during. It's
for
just
sure.
fun. Gives you, it's effervescent. It adds tingles.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're gonna kick in and start on these carrots. Like I said, it'll just be a few minutes crossover in the oven.
Before you jump,
so-
before you jump in
That,
over
I'm
there, is it okay if I
Save
tell a
the
story?
Prosecco for
while
later,
you-
and I'll top back off with the cider. All right, so carrots are very love and hated side, I feel. Make sure my camera's not frozen. All right. I know here I don't get to eat cooked carrots very often. But I do like a good cooked carrot. For me, carrots are a very different vegetable than most people are used to cooking with. Carrots, turnips, all those, they're very sweet. They grow on the ground. If you get a good carrot, a lot of times they're called wintered carrots. They grew all through the winter. So they were just storing and packing sugar that entire time to give themselves the ability to grow and to get their greens up early in the season. So they're starting to get sunlight earlier and that they grow bigger that way. So I think one of the biggest issues with carrots for people are, one, people just either can them or boil them or just hammer them and get them so squishy and mushy. They're, I don't know, a rough shake in a jar from being turned into baby food. Or people try to just say, oh, carrots, they're a vegetable. Let's add some sweetness to them to help them. But they're already sweet. So then you end up with this mushy, overly sweet. They probably boil them without blanching them. So you get a grainy texture. And now you're literally trying to eat carrot-flavored granola with honey on it. Who wants that? So today I'm going to show you, and or at least attempt to show you, how to make carrots that are right. And then right at the end, we're going to put a fun little twist on this to kind of mix it up a little bit. So let's start with a nice big pan. I got a real big one here. I'm going to get that back on the stovetop. And this one I do want pretty warm. So we're shooting for about medium high right now. And we're going to add this couple tablespoons of olive oil to the bottom of this pan. So you got two ways to do this. You can keep your carrots whole, which look great. If you can get the kind of mini multicolored carrots, they're about yay long, maybe 4-ish inches, and they have a little bit of that green still on the top. Trim that green to where you're about 2 inches from the top of it, and do it that way, and it's going to look incredible on your plate. Now, some people, again, may not like seeing that on there. I think it looks very good, but it isn't as just ready to scoop on your plate and throw in a big rush like you are in Thanksgiving. So, route 2, which is the one I am doing, we have some sliced cut carrots. Now, I'm using some multicolored carrots here. You don't have to. If you can't find them, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and use your regular orange carrots. There is no flavor difference between multicolored carrots and regular carrots. The only difference is it just looks a little bit prettier here.
So what makes the different colors for carrots?
So the carrot color comes from basically the chemical that's in it. So it is keratin is what is in normal orange carrots, because actual natural real carrots as we find them are closer to this yellowy style color. That's like if you find wild carrots, they're gonna be closer to this yellow. We've kind of bred the orange into them because it looks pretty. So yeah, you're gonna be closer almost. I mean, they almost look like water chestnuts, sort of a look to them, right? So natural carrots, yeah, are just going to have more of that whitish yellow. And then other than that, it's just a little more iron. Maybe it holds something along those lines. Similar like an heirloom tomato when you get those purpley tomatoes or any of that. Not really much of a difference. And we're just going to keep tossing these. And at this point, we're not really looking for a sear. I'm just trying to keep the oil coated around all these carrots. Carrots are a root veggie, which means they're thick and dense, which means you're going to see me doing this with a good amount of salt a few times. I know somebody's going to inevitably say, man, that was a whole lot of salt. But you got to remember, to get inside the cells, get that salt really ingrained within that carrot, you need to do it at the beginning because that's going to help open up those outer cells and pull some of that outer liquid out. You need to do it in the middle of cooking because that's what's going to help that salt get into the middle of those cells and bring that flavor out. And then you're going to want to do it towards the end again, which is going to be the lighter one. So we're going to be doing that one to flavor to make sure the overall dish is flavored right. Because as we cook these, there will be liquid coming out, and that liquid is going to evaporate and carry some of this with it. Tim, you still there?
I still am. Can you hear me? Oh,
Hang on, I might have my mic way down. Hey, Tim, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay.
Weird. Yeah, we couldn't hear you there for a minute. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know if
no.
you've been asking us questions.
I have, but that's okay. It's not
So
the first
sorry.
time I've been ignored. It's not the last.
Yeah, so sorry. I had this mic down, but my other two mic or two. Oh, well, I apologize. I turned you down. I'm so sorry. What can I help
It's
you
okay.
with?
It's okay. You've been carrying the show. You didn't need me, and there are no real pressing questions, so it's okay.
All right.
You dropped one.
A 2. Thank you. Drop 2. So, the other fun thing with this dish is it kind of helps fit almost any diet or diet restriction. We're going to have carrots, some peppers, little stuff like that. We will be adding honey. But outside of the honey going into this would be a vegan dish. And honey, vegan, that's kind of a on the fence. Some say yes, some say no. But leave the leave the honey off, and you can add something such as molasses to add that little bit of earthy sweetness to it as well. And you can use that if you don't want to add the honey and keep your dish vegan.
Could you use agave?
You could use agave. Yeah, absolutely. Agave is typically a little sweeter, so you want to dial that
Useless.
back a little bit.
Okay.
But absolutely you can. So I'm going to bring base mic down over here. Got to find the right spot to set it. Kind of show the cutting board now. Tape anywhere. See if this will hold right there. All right. So here we have the Serrano. Serrano is one of my favorite peppers. They look similar to a jalapeno, but typically they're a little skinnier, a little thinner, and a little lighter green. Jalapenos can almost go that dark green to almost blackish looking color, where these Serranos are going to be a little brighter. They are spicier than a jalapeno typically, but they are also a little sweeter. Two ways to handle that. If you're not a huge fan, take the top off, just like that. Split it down the middle, and then you can take just a regular spoon. This white part and these seeds, the membrane, is where a lot of the heat of a pepper is. Now, not all. It's not 100%, but most. You take that. Look at that. Comes out in one kind of chunk. All right. Do that one more time. I'll try to get it to where I'm angled at that camera a little better. So we're just going to take the side of it and kind of scoop it underneath that membrane. And just run it straight along. And turn. Anything you miss, just scoop that right on out. That's going to pull a little bit of that heat off of those, out of that pepper. Now, again, still going to have some, but I'd say it pulls a decent amount of it out. From there, we can do a nice kind of thin chop on it. Nothing too fancy, nothing too tiny. Don't need to go too crazy with them. Add those right to these carrots as they go. Another way to cut these Serranos, if you want maybe somebody still kind of like, well, I don't like any heat whatsoever. I'm just going to cut it a little bigger. So now you're going to take it and you can kind of press this now that inside. So you can almost press it nice and thin. And we're going to take this and we're going to cut these bigger, a little bit thicker ribbons out of them. They're still pretty thin. Oh, come on, camera. Do your thing. There you go.
There you go.
Thin. So they're going to cook at a decent rate. But somebody that is going to try to scoop that out of their dish or, push it to the side when they're scooping their stuff up, just going to have a little easier time to see it. Or if you like a little bit of heat, just keep that inside right on in there and cut you some, what do they call these? Bottle caps. And just cut you some just like that. So you're getting two things from this Serrano when you add it to this dish. You're going to get that little bit of heat, obviously. But as with jalapenos, as with green bell peppers, which is another substitute if you yourself, the one making it, and nobody in your house wants to try any of this spice, just add a little bit of green bell pepper because you want that flavor because it's adding what is called pyrazine, which is kind of the flavor that you taste when you're trying green bell pepper. Which, Eric, you want to talk about pyrazine and wine here for a bit? If someone likes that green bell peppery, or if you're trying a wine and you taste that green bell pepperiness almost, what wines are you most likely looking at?
Yeah. So pyrazine is also found in wine. When you talk about that green bell pepper note that you're talking about, if you really enjoy that, I highly recommend Cab Franc from the Loire. That's always like when we're doing our blind tastings, me and Dunbar. That's usually the telltale sign that you usually get, and I don't. And I call it Beaujolais. But pyrazine is found in a lot of different wines, mainly the Bordeaux varieties, like Cab Franc,
Cabernet. You can see I salted one more time. We're kind of in the middle of those carrots, so we hit it with a little bit more salt again. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Sauvignon Blanc too for white wines and stuff. So that usually comes across more as like jalapeno than it does green bell pepper.
Yeah,
But yeah.
So again, back to kind of that food pairing. As Eric, I think, said one of the first ones we did. Was it what grows together goes together? So if you're doing something and adding a little bit of this pepperiness taste, try one of those wines and see. They're gonna kind of play off each other a little bit. All right, so we got these peppers in here. I got my cute little bear.
That is adorable.
So we're gonna add just a little bit of honey. Again, I'm cooking a decent amount. It's about 2.5 pounds of carrots, so I'm putting probably about 2 ounces or so. I think this is from Cedric's birthday.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah, it's from Cedric's birthday.
Birthday.
So we're just adding as you saw, I added a decent amount, but really you're just wanting to add just the tiniest amount, basically enough to lightly coat the carrots. We're also, just to show kind of what it is, again, just a little bit of this molasses. I'm not even going to add as much as that since I already put the honey. But yeah, it's just going to add kind of an earthy or a natural sweetness like the honey will, right? We're not putting sugar in here. Like I said, I'm not wanting sweetness. I'm wanting depth of flavors. All right, so now we have this here pretty well sauteed off. So we're going to shift this again to the cooler burner. And I just have a kind of a crock here. You can do this in another casserole dish if you have one. If you're doing the large carrots, like the full carrots, I highly recommend kind of tonging them or putting them into a casserole dish so they can kind of sit all nice and pretty and up top and all that for when you pop it down on that table on the side and tell Aunt Jane, who's been bad mouthing you since you turned 18, that boom, I can make some dishes. So we got this sitting here in this now. And we're just going to pop this in the oven here for just a couple minutes. It's not going to take too long. We're wanting that caramel, or sorry, that honey to caramelize a bit and not necessarily burn, but crisp up on there some. And if you do that in the pan, you can, but you risk the honey going to the bottom and all the carrots touching the pan, getting 90% of it, and the rest of the carrots just getting a little, to where it's already coated in here. And since the heat is all over omnidirectional, it's going to caramelize the honey on the top carrots at the same speed it's going to the stuff on the bottom. So that's why we're doing it that way. We're going to go ahead and shift back to the table. We're going to talk about our second wine here for a minute. A couple minutes there, and then we'll be pulling that mac and cheese out, and we'll do the mac and cheese tasting with the Prosecco. And then about the time we're done doing that, we'll pull the carrots out and finish the carrots and do that. So see you over that direction.
Over there?
In just a second. Oh, lied to you. Hang on. Gotta turn volume down. Just remind me to turn volume up. I think that's what it was last time.
Yeah.
Volume down you on accident.
It's okay. It really is fine.
Yeah, that's the one thing, because I have Food Cam is my phone and this is my tablet, and I don't have the mic to it, I can't turn the volume 100% down on those.
Sure.
So that is what it is. I just got a new camera today. I didn't have enough time to play with the settings to get to use it as a webcam. So hopefully next time I'll have a second camera that'll be connected to my laptop. So then we'll have these mics with that second camera, and it'll all be ran smoothly.
We're getting fancier every episode.
Yeah, trying. I got luckily an anonymous friend basically said, "Hey, you should try this camera," and let me borrow it for a while to try it out. So
cool.
hopefully we'll have it by next one set up. I just didn't have time to figure out how to link it to the laptop as a live stream camera wirelessly. So, all right, I'm going to, as you do this, I'm going to hold this like angled a bit, just because I want everybody to see the color of this wine.
Oh yeah,
when it
sure.
comes out. So you can talk about it first, but yeah, this is one of the most beautiful wine colors I've ever seen in my life.
This is one of my new favorite wines I found. All right, so this is what I'm super excited to bring to Thanksgiving this year. So this is the Botex, and it's the Bougie Cerdon. This is a sparkling red wine from France. So Bougie is the appellation this comes from. So that is on the eastern side of France, west of Savoie, east of Beaujolais, and then south of the Jura. So I'm gonna pour this wine.
Yeah.
Just
So it's just one of the most incredible colors.
so pretty. Wait till the bubbles settle.
Yeah.
I'll pour yours while those settle. Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited to try this. Did we drink this before? Okay.
Mhm.
Wait.
Yeah, it's the one we had when we came back from the Apostle Islands, me and
I'm
Autumn.
curious if I can
And-
get the color of this wine.
Oh yeah.
But it's this beautiful.
Okay.
It actually looks
Tilt it
more
up a
red in the
bit.
camera than it does in person.
Yeah.
It's got more of like a violet color in person. but-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's this, well, yours looks awesome. Why doesn't yours have
Yeah.
bubbles?
All right. Wow.
Huh.
Can you turn the volume for Tim a little bit?
Yeah. Turn it up a bit.
You still there, Tim?
I am. I'm still here.
Oh, cool. All right. So I'll talk a little bit about this wine and why I'm super excited to bring this for Thanksgiving. And so first of all, this is made in the ancient method. It says on the bottom here. So when it comes to sparkling wine, you have like the tank method, which was used for the Prosecco that we brought, or I also brought. There's the champagne method. And then this style of wine is considered how it's thought to be how the first style of sparkling wine. So the difference between this and a champagne method is this starts in a spontaneous fermentation. And then once the wine gets to about 60 grams per liter of sugar left over, they cool the tanks really, really fast to halt the fermentation. Oh, you tried it, didn't you?
Mhm. Sorry, I could not.
I'll wait a second. And then once the fermentation halts, they add it, they put it in a bottle and then put it under a crown cap and then age it a little longer. And the fermentation will spontaneously start again once the wine warms up a little bit. And then they riddle it, take the cap off, and then put a cork on it. So the difference between this and champagne is champagne, they would add a dosage. So instead of doing the secondary fermentation by halting the fermentation with a little bit of sugar left over, they add a dosage, which is usually it's usually sugar, it could be sugar and wine with a little bit of yeast. And that's what gives champagne that bubbliness.
And where would you go about finding this in this area?
I also got this from Waterford. I think this was $20 a bottle, if I remember right.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
both of these wines I got up into Pier here. So this is one of my new favorite finds that I found recently. So, and like I said, bougie, it sounds bougie, but it's really not. Like all the wines there are super, I mean, it is literally bougie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all the wines are super affordable from there. I mentioned earlier that Beaujolais is a great wine to bring to Thanksgiving. And the main grape variety in Beaujolais, it's usually 100%, is Gamay. So this is a sparkling Gamay. It's 80 or 90% Gamay and then 10% Poussard, which is a grape from the Jura, which is north of Bougie. So I'm gonna taste this one really quick.
Oh yeah,
I'm super
please do
excited.
it. So I couldn't resist.
I don't know if we just had apple cider, but I have a little. You get a little bit of the apple cider too.
Yeah. No, it's just really clean. It's really refreshing, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's not like sweet. Like it does. They have a sweetness to it. It's a sparkling wine. They typically do have that, as you were saying. But yeah, it's such a nice mellow, but still intense and flavor wise.
Yeah, when it comes to Thanksgiving, usually you get a wide range of people with different palates, and this is the wine that I bring that if you don't like wine, you probably like this wine actually. And if you do like wine, like there's enough there that it's super interesting and just delicious to drink as well. My grandma loves Lambrusco.
Lambrusco.
Yeah. And
Yes,
I'm
does Mara.
super tried this wine, and I'm bringing this for Thanksgiving this year, and I'm super excited for her to try it. So there's a little bit of sugar like you would find in a Lambrusco, and like I said, there's a little bit of bubbles just like you would find in a Lambrusco, but it's very fruity and it's got that a little bit of acidity. Gametes are really normally a high acid grape, which will help cutting through all that fatty, rich food you're gonna be drinking for Thanksgiving. So
You mentioned Beaujolais or Gamay. What other wines is a Gamay kind of prevalent? I mean, where else would you see that, I guess?
I mean, they
I know it's a heavy blended grape as well, right? Like GSM, isn't that normally Gamay and the G?
that's Grenache.
Grenache, okay.
Yeah. They make Gametes in other places. They're not super like you got to really search them out. Like I've had some from Oregon and stuff like that. I've seen some from like Australia, but like you're looking at real niche. Like it'd be really hard to find one of those. You'd have to
Gotcha.
really search
Okay.
out.
So normally, if you're seeing that Gamay, you know, you're getting something that's typically from France. I mean, you're in
Especially if
that
you see
region.
Beaujolais on the label.
Awesome. All right, let's go pull that mac and cheese out. Well, let's finish this glass, and then we'll pull the mac and cheese out so we can shift back.
Yeah, Mara too is a huge fan of Lambrusco, so you would recommend that perhaps she
Tim,
might
you
be
should probably
satisfied.
pick her up a bottle of this.
I don't know if I'll have time tonight, but tomorrow morning I can get it. What time do they open?
Like 10 to 4, 10 to
10:30.
6, 10:30.
Okay, that's doable.
Yeah, and they're nice. They're super, super knowledgeable. Very nice people in there. Every time I go in, I find a bottle that we've loved. Like 2 white burgundies that I've pulled out of there recently. Both were just stellar wines in that $20 to $30 range. So, you know, I know a lot of people are thinking, you know, 20, 30, what's the range for wine? But when you think about it, that was grown, picked, bottled in France, then brought here. A lot goes into getting that bottle, you know, on your Thanksgiving table. And, you know, I mean, a bottle of Jameson is going to be that much. So, you know, this is going to go with food and not just be something you start pounding back with Uncle Timmy at the end.
And that's another thing about these wines.
Is there a reason you chose to name Uncle Timmy? Is there a reason?
No, not at all.
Was chosen? Oh, okay.
That's another great thing with these wines too. Like this one's 8% alcohol. So, you know, your grandma can have 2 glasses of this
Before teeth start falling out.
So, Eric, can you message me both of the Prosecco and the sparkling red, the names of it, so that I can share that on Facebook tomorrow?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Because you know, I think they're excellent recommendations, and I think they're excellent for Thanksgiving. So, give people a little time to shop for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Are we shifting back towards the kitchen, Andrew?
Go ahead and bring her on over to Food Cam.
All right.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and pull this mac and cheese out. Oh, it's perfect. Just what I wanted. I'm going to try to do it real quick. Hopefully we can see this bubbly action.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it looks great. You can see the bubbling.
We're going to try. I'm going to shoot for this here, too. I'm going to try to take my mic off and see if we can. Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of crisp mixed with that little bit of I mean, it's. Can you hear the bubbles, Tim?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, hear them bubbles.
Yeah, definitely.
Get your volume back over here. All right, we won't be in here for very long because it's mac and cheese and we're talking aside, right? So we're not really doing too much plating, nothing too fancy with these guys right here. What we are doing with this is we're just gonna basically slop it down right on your plate. For me, I'm a build-up type of guy when I'm doing my Thanksgiving dinner. So I like to start with the gooey stuff in the middle of my plate. So I'll put the mashed potatoes in the middle and pile the mac and cheese and the stuffing. And then I put the harder stuff on top. That way I kind of get that nice scoop on the bottom. But as kind of see, here's those lumps of that cream cheese that we got in there. So we're going to make sure we get a little bit of that. And there we go. Look at that nice clean pan on the bottom of it, right? So we wanted gooey, we wanted cheesy, but what you don't want is nasty, nasty greasiness, right? It's heavy. It's mac and cheese, but look at that. You can still see the reflection in there because we made that roux and we cooked that roux down just right. And that roux released all those starches. What those starches did was as we cooked the roux, they opened up, right? And then we incorporated all of that. There we go. Look at that nice crispy edge right there on that piece.
That looks amazing.
We added all of that liquid, the milk, the more moist cheeses, those types of things, and all that moisture from inside that cheese, that starch. You think they're these little granules. Think of, right, microscopically, but think of rice. You throw that rice in there because rice has starch, kind of operates the same way. But that liquid's going to get inside of there, and then it's going to expand a little bit as it's soaking up that liquid. And eventually it's going to reach at the max that it can. Now, if you just leave it like that, that's how you're going to get something such as tapioca pudding or something along those lines, where you have a very wet starch. Hang on one second. Got to get my cat real quick here. Here, kitty, kitty. There we go. She was upstairs. So it's going to kind of just stop and hold. There's some stuff you can do, calcium chloride. There's a few different chemicals, a few different things that you can do kind of in the what are they called? Microgastronomy and stuff like that, to kind of toy with that and play with that. But it's going to hold it. So now when you take that starch and you reapply, right? That's why I turned that heat off while we were doing that. And then I put heat back to it. Those full starches started to shrink a little because a little bit of that moisture was now evaporating. And now you have these starch, and eventually they tightened up to the point where they're not going to give away any more of the moisture that's in them. They want the rest of that moisture. And they're going to basically lock down at this point. So I can't really add more moisture at this point. I really can't take any moisture away at this point, but that's what's going to give us a nice gooey, because that starch is still soft. It still has liquid in it, but clean mac and cheese. We're going to shift back over this table and we're going to try this with some Prosecco. Kill this. Volume one more time. Said hopefully we'll have this volume figured out next week. Getting closer. Cameras are getting better.
It's all going to work out. I ain't scared. I'm not worried. Just comments on what you're making. Ryan Morris saying, oh no, I lost it. It's back. It's okay. Bubbles in the wine and bubbles in the mac and cheese. So very unified. Double bubble.
We call it the double bubble, which you can get Monday through Friday at Courthouse Pub from 2 to 5, 2 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 2 to 5.
Look at that.
2 to 5 at Ryan's.
Unpaid endorsement for both places. Brenda says it looks good, and Nessa just gives a big old yum.
Thank you, Brenda, for tuning in. Much appreciated. Thank you, Nessa, as always. So I'm going to dig in on this.
Is there any way you can tilt the cam down a little bit, because we can't see your plates?
Absolutely, we can.
There we go. That looks beautiful.
Yeah. It's and again, it should have that very nice somewhat solid. It shouldn't be at this point because it's a baked mac and cheese, right? We're not just mixing the blue block. We ain't got the blue box blues at this point. There's be some stringiness to it, but it's not wet, right? It's closer to a casserole than it is a mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, for sure. I loved how clean the bottom of the casserole is. Is it a little hot?
Have some wine.
And he never tasted anything again.
Yeah. That was good though. Remember that whole bubbling thing that meant hot? I forgot.
Yeah, oh, that's
That
what it.
meant hot.
Oh, okay, hot. Got it. No,
Yeah.
now I get it.
So once you can taste it, and once I can taste it again, again, there's gonna be that slight nuttiness to it. You're gonna get this. I say caramel, but I don't mean that in terms of sweet. I mean that in terms of that brownie flavor to it. You know, and not brownie like the baked goods, but the color brown. It tastes like the color brown smells. Okay. Yeah, just doing that roux, and making sure that's cooked down. And you get that red roux. If you want to go a little darker, you can. We did have that smoked Gouda, which is why I kind of stopped it at that red roux. If I didn't have that, and I was just gonna do like cheddar Parmesan, or do straight cheddar. I mean, you can just do straight cheddar if you needed to. I would have probably taken it a little bit farther and went closer to like a wet sand color, I guess is the next best like way to describe it.
You're really selling this.
I know.
Yeah, could you incorporate the word beige into it? At all?
Beige. It would look roughly like my walls.
Is James Lewis Kraft the person who invented Kraft mac and cheese?
Yes.
Okay, because I just want to fact check. Ryan Moore said that James Lewis Kraft would be proud. I'm not sure if he's talking about you burning yourself or the use of your adjectives.
That I mean, at this point, I mean, I might as well play for the Patriots because I'm doing Kraft proud.
That works really well, by the way.
Yeah, and this wine pairing was excellent. Like you said, that little bit of sweetness, high acid.
Yeah, and bubbles and bubbles.
And bubbles and bubbles. That double
Bubbles.
Yeah. Double bubble, 1 to 5 at Courthouse Pub, 2 to 5 at Ryan's on York.
Yeah.
You guys should just change your names to Bubbles. And then you could be Bubbles and Bubbles.
Never mind. I forget.
Okay,
the library
fair enough.
channel. We got a pet.
This is the perfect amount of bubbles per capita.
This is right. This is right. 2 bubbles, 2 people. It's the right amount.
I'm glad we've reached perfect bubbles per capita.
Yeah,
That's very important.
So I keep sticking my hand in the camera, trying to adjust the volume. Yeah.
Do what you must.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said do what you must. That's all.
Gotcha. And then you'll get these little nodules or chunks of cream cheese. It's a little different at first because cream cheese has kind of a grainy texture to it, but it quickly goes because it's warm and it works with the dish. But it just every once in a while you get this little added bite of sweetness in the dish, which I really like. That's why I like adding that cream cheese. Like I said, that flavor adjuster is what I use that third cheese for. You can do other things with that third one. Do you want to add some heat and put some pepper jack in there? Do you want to add some funk and get some blue cheese and add it into there? Do you want to get a flavored cheese? We're in the heart of Wisconsin. There's plenty of cheese places around. I'm trying to think, what's the a dairyarium? Is that's where they make cheese, right, Tim? A dairyarium?
I believe that is correct. The dairyarium and the cheese. What was the butter house? Butter house and the dairyarium.
I don't remember.
Butter hut. The buttery. Is that? Are we allowed to say any of this on air?
But a lot of these local cheese manufacturers make plenty of flavored cheeses. Some do like a Cajun cheese. If you want to do a little bit of a Cajun, but you don't want it to be too over the top where you're adding actual Cajun seasoning to your dish, which you would do right when you first add that cream, but before the milk, so it just incorporates in. Add a little bit of this Cajun seasoned cheese at the end onto the top of your dish or something like that, just to add that flavor addition.
Ryan Morris Ryan actually threw something in here that's interesting. That I feel a blue cheese mac and cheese would go great with the carrots in honey miso.
That would be a little bit of funk with those carrots with that miso that adds a funk, but on the opposite end of it would actually work very well together. I like doing a blue cheese mac and cheese, but again, I do it the same way. Just kind of add a few dots of it in there. If I'm adding like a Cajun cheese, I'll do like a layer, right? The whole top, kind of put a whole layer on top just because I want that to be there. If you're doing blue cheese, again, you want to add those little dots because nothing's worse than when you're expecting just nice creamy mac and cheese. You just take a whole mouthful of blue cheese straight to the taste buds. While it's delicious, it's quite overpowering at first and very startling. So get some of that blue cheese. This is delicious. Thank you. And add some shredded chicken on top after that, and do a little like blue cheese and chicken on the base. And then I added the breadcrumbs, but you can also get some waffles, chop some waffles up, stick that on top. Now you have a mac and cheese, blue cheese play on a chicken and waffle.
Ooh.
And as I've said with many of these other dishes, that is mostly what I want people to realize about cooking dishes like this. And that's why I keep a lot of the recipes that Tim posts smaller, and you'll see me add certain ingredients, because a lot of times I'm just like pulling my salt out and I'm pulling my honey out and I'm like, oh, maybe I do want to add this. Oh, this would be good. And that's what cooking should be. That's what cooking at home is. It's not only making those little adjustments on the fly, because when I'm cooking in a restaurant, I need to make it the same every time, because when you serve that food to a customer and this customer gets this burger, they expect it to taste the exact same way as the burger they had it a week ago because they ordered it off a menu.
Yeah.
The one consistent meal we have in our house is tacos. We do it once a week. It's the fun meal where we set everything on the table, kind of make your own tacos, have fun, talk. I don't think we make the dish the same way twice. Sometimes I add some beans to the meat. Sometimes we add some tofu to the meat. Sometimes we add, a little bit of paprika, just to add a little more extra spice or something like that to it. And that's the beauty of cooking at home. So I think this pairing was fantastic, though. What do you think about it?
No, it's perfect. Like I said, fat and acid.
Ryan also added, not for nothing, but a side of fish sticks would be the chef's kiss to the dish.
But then you have to swap a little bit of that heavy cream, or swap that cream cheese at the end for a little tartar sauce and put some fish sticks on top. I think it is a beautiful, yeah.
Skip the breadcrumbs, just go fish stick.
They're already breaded.
Well, there's already breadcrumbs on the fish sticks. You're killing two fish with one stone. Hey, I have a question. Are we going to see the carrots?
Yes, we are about to pull those out. I just realized it was 7:30. We're about 10 minutes behind. Let me go break those out real quick.
That's okay.
Those have just about 30 seconds worth of finishing on them. Let me shift my mac and cheese around a little. And let me shift my camera back down to here.
All right.
So, the two things we're going to do with these carrots are add some mint. So, when you add the mint, the very top of most of these are these cute little nods. They kind of have like two, it's the new growth. It's got 2 or 3. Sorry, some of those bubbles are starting to come back up. So those are kind of nice. I like to pull those aside, because those are fun to place in strategic areas, if you will, across the dish. Just kind of add that extra, I know what I'm doing when you're plating these types of dishes. So we're going to grab 2 or 3 of those. And then with the rest of this mint, not all of it, but some, we're going to start laying them flat like this. If you can, start by putting your biggest ones at the bottom. And kind of just start stacking them that way. You find one that's, oh, look at this giant one. I'll just kind of put you there on the bottom. From there, And take these and roll this up just like any deadhead would know how. And then from the very end, we're going to start slicing as thin as you can with this. And really just give it some time. A nice sharp blade will help this go smoother, but just taking your time. And then you end up with this. These very, very fine pieces of the mint. That is called a chiffonade. And I don't care what Google and autocorrect says. That does not start with a C. Chiffonade starts with an S. It sounds just like it. I believe his first name was Jerry. So we're gonna pull these carrots
true?
out. And you probably kick this over to the food cam now. And you have this nice little crock right here. So from here, you got two options. Avocado. What's the avocado going to add? It's going to put a little bit of fattiness to that dish because, again, we just have carrots, which are fibrous and sweet. We've added honey, sweet. So putting that avocado adds this fattiness to it. Another thing you can do, and I believe I got this from the Green Bay Olive Oil Company. I do know we have a couple other olive oil companies nearby, but I'm just doing a very light drizzle. And this is a coconut balsamic vinegar. So that's going to add that little bit of tartness in there as well. And then I'm going to hit this nice and up high. As you can kind of see, my hands are pretty decently high up. When you're doing this final drizzle, do it up top. So if I try to put my stuff from this low, it's all going to go right there in the middle, right? So do your drizzle from way up top. Make a little bit of a mess. Throw it in the fridge. It's all good.
Would you recommend working in the fridge with this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe just do your whole prep on a shelf.
And
then those little nods of mint that we pulled off the top.
Oh.
Just kind of going to place these. A few little spots. I'm going to bring food cam out here and bring it a little lower just so we can get a slightly better.
Oh yeah, the color comes out a lot more when you bring it in close like that.
There we go. Got the light on it too.
Yeah, that is nice. That looks great.
Now you have this nice, again, the roasting kind of brought those colors together, but you can definitely tell you get those multicolored. And I'm going to grab a couple more plates. And we'll scoop some of this out. And again, right, heat is on the outside first. So as you scoop these, the inside, you're going to get even more of that color in the middle, right? So it's a very, very pretty dish that, as people scoop at it, eat at it, and all that, only gets prettier the more and more they scoop, because once you get closer to the center, you can start seeing that color just not quite as intense. So it just looks prettier and prettier as people are scooping at it and keep eating at it. And I promise it's not going to last too long on those sides. So
that is pretty cool that the deeper you get, the more the colors pop. That looks great.
Yeah, and that's just that heat on the outside. I'm going to go ahead and pass you your plate. All right, we'll see you back in the other room. I think the cat just tore my house down, though. I don't know what that was. So, with this current carrot dish, it is different, which I think is important when you're cooking stuff such as Thanksgiving and all that. Like I said, having traditions is great. Having traditions that never die because you just don't want to try something different. It's not the way it should be. Get a little adventurous. Try something a little different. At the end of the day, it's cooked carrots, which most Thanksgiving have some version of this. We just added some balsamic some avocado, some mint, some honey. It's not that far. I had a couple peppers, but adjust. I was at the store. I didn't see any avocados I liked. That's why I didn't put those on here today. I was going to. They were all super, super hard, and I was going to need about 4 days sitting in a brown bag on my counter to actually get them to the right ripeness level that I wanted. So I adjusted with that balsamic. Back to that. I'm going to finish this real quick. So we can try this with these carrots. So here's the other benefit to these carrots. A version of a multicolored carrot is currently at Ryan's on York is a special this week. That one we are doing with the mint and avocado, but it is served in a miso honey. So you're going to get that miso to add kind of that tangy earthiness as opposed to that balsamic. So that's kind of the difference. But if anyone's somewhat interested, you just don't know if you want to invest into purchasing the carrots, purchasing the avocado, trying it before Thanksgiving, pop into Ryan's this week, give it a try and see what you think about them there. And we'll, you'll be able to adjust yours. So cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Thanks for another great time. Let's try it with these carrots.
Make sure to maybe blow
Yeah,
on
this
the
one-
carrots. Blow on the
think the last
carrots
one-
before you. Don't just eat the carrots hot. Don't burn your. Oh my god! There, that's. I feel better. Oh, you went with the airplane instead of the train. Very nice.
Try the one after. Ooh.
That
Peppers
peppers on
are-
a kick right there.
Peppers are a good choice. I think the sweetness is going to help them. Yeah, that is the weirdest pairing, but it works
It's so good. It's so good. It's such a weird. You're right. The little bit of sweetness in this pairs with that bit of spiciness from the Serranos, but the fruitiness of this helps really balance out the earthiness of carrots and peppers and mint. And well, mint, I don't know. A lot of time people put mint into the fruity category. For me, it's not. It's herby.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that and like the sweetness from the carrots take it. The wine doesn't taste sweet anymore.
No, there. Yeah. It makes it a. Oh, that was good.
I'm really happy you're both blowing on the carrots. It makes me feel a lot better that you're enjoying your food. That your
Yeah,
tums
they
will
cooled down
survive.
nice and quick. So I think that's what we have for everybody today. Thank you all again. Sure, Tim will keep everybody very much aware of the next installment of At Home at Andrew. We haven't quite figured exactly at home with Andrew. Sorry, these bubbles get to you quick.
Let Andrew with home.
Wine's
It's
doing
fine.
its job.
We'll figure that out, but we'll definitely probably keep it December themed, and make sure it's worth the holiday. Or maybe we'll skip Christmas and maybe we can talk bottles to pop on New Year's or something along those lines. So
Sure.
keep a lookout. We'll make sure we get it out soon.
I'm certainly not subtle about letting people know that we have a show coming up. Not whatsoever.
It's not a word you've ever had used to describe you.
Never. Not once. That is
Me
very
either,
true.
so I can't.
I'm going to quick jump back on camera and switch to the view. I just wanted to tell one quick story because Eric, you said it earlier in the broadcast that you bring your version of bringing cranberries is bringing wine, and I know both of you know this story, but I wanted to tell a story about Mara. And the one year it was on Thanksgiving, her dad, when she was born, bought her a case of port, and 30 plus years later, and it was a really nice case of port. The bottle, per bottle, it was like, I don't know, it was hundreds of dollars per bottle of the port. And Eric, you had the port. I think both of you had the port at Ryan's. We brought a bottle into Ryan's at one time. And it is fantastic port, but Mara, we didn't know the value of it, and she made cranberry sauce with it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I remember that now.
And they were amazing. They were the
That was
best.
probably the
I don't
best
even.
cranberry sauce.
Easily. It's the only time I've ever really enjoyed cranberry sauce, I think.
It could also
And,
be traded for the next 10 years of turkey.
Exactly. And it was phenomenal. And I'm so glad she made that mistake. Well, we were in Jersey, just starting off. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, just got to pull your Bob Ross in sometimes and make happy little mistakes,
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, both of you. This was a phenomenal episode. Great to see these dishes, different, traditional on the mac and cheese, but it looks so good. And the cleanliness at the bottom of that casserole dish is just amazing.
Yeah, it's just about that roux. Make that
Yeah.
roux right, and it'll help out that cleanliness. Like I said, it was a little butter. I didn't do anything to the sides, and those crispy edges popped right off. So
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the carrots look great. Everything looked great. Thank you for the wines, the Prosecco and the sparkling that you brought in, Eric. They both look phenomenal. Of course, I'm sitting in my office at the library drinking filtered water, so it's almost as good.
yeah, we'll get you on site for one of these days.
But even if I'm on site, I won't be able to. I'm
That's
on the
very
clock.
true. That's very
So
true.
that might
We'll have
make
to
me
line it up
sadder.
just right.
I'll
We'll
just
finish the food at 7:59, clock out at 8. It'll be a very quick sign off.
punch out, ready to go. And thank you everyone who was watching tonight. Thank you for the questions. I think, Andrew, you always say, if you're just eating to eat, that's just food. But when it's with conversation and good wine and good friends and everything, I think I like that this show is kind of moving in that direction as well.
Exactly.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you to the audience. They're going to kick me out of the library in about 10 minutes, so I have to say good night.
Sounds great.
Really fun time tonight. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Happy Thanksgiving. A little bit
Yeah, happy
early to
Thanksgiving.
everyone.
Thank you all. Talk
Bye,
to you later, Ted.
everyone.